Are you ready to get woke? Welcome to the Woke as podcast with your host, Alex Lazarev.
In this part 2, we talk about astral sex and orgasms, non-attachment, and how approval and criticism feels or doesn't feel when you're in a non-ego state, spiritual parasites and egregores, how they manifest and the best way to deal with them, the wisdom of inspired action, how to mentally reframe your work to motivate yourself, using a samurai mindset to overcome struggles, matrix energetics, and stories of using belief to survive life-threatening events, my theory of switching timelines for your own personal development, Dian's blockchain analogy for shifting timelines, aliens and related phenomena, and my own experience of channeling and how you too can open yourself up to receive love and wisdom from your friends out there in the universe.
Tell that story again that you told me when we were in Bulgaria about your friend who had sex with another woman in the dream, and then he confirmed it with her that they both.
Yeah, when I was last in Sofia, he actually added something to that story.
Well, tell the whole story.
Yeah, the original story is he has a friend who went to, I think, a tantra seminar or something, and she really liked the presenter, the speaker, but they were both really busy, so they couldn't do anything. And that same night she went to sleep, and in the morning she dreamt about him, and they had sex, and she reached orgasm, and she really enjoyed it and took it as a dream. And then she went to that same seminar the next day, and he came up to her and he was like, "Did you like yesterday? Did you like last night?" She was like, "What the fuck? That was real?" And what actually was the case, he found her on the astral plane and had sex with her. That's the one story. And the story that he later added is he himself, my friend, he had a dream where he saw another friend of his, again a woman, having sex with another woman. And it felt really vivid. And 2 years later, he met her and he had a chance to ask. And he was like, a bit of a personal question, but I want to confirm that. Did you have sex with that woman on that date 2 years ago? And she was like, yeah, of course. And if you were there, we would have done it with you. We would have a threesome. So yeah, that was another confirmation.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I thought that was a really funny story.
And the cool thing is, my friend his excitement is to always be skeptical and research everything and prove it. And that is why, that's what his books are about. And that's why I trust him. He wouldn't be lying to me about these things.
Yeah. In the kitchen, we were earlier having an interesting chat about whether I'm dead inside, which I thought was interesting because, when people write me messages or in person or whatever, and they say, "Oh, you changed my life because of you," and blah blah blah, I'm always like, "Oh, thanks, man. That's awesome. Glad to hear it." And I usually just say, they ask, like, is there anything I can do for you? And I usually just say, well, do the same thing for whoever else you can.
Mm.
Like, if I woke you up, then wake up other people. But I don't usually feel much. And I don't know. I and I was worried. I'm like, why I don't care. Shouldn't I be more, like, excited and everything? And I'm quite neutral when people say, that I help them. And then you were saying, because that's mainly an ego type of gratification. And I guess my thoughts on this are simply that because that's my purpose is to wake people up. It's like me just doing my job. Like if a garbage man comes to your house and picks up the garbage and throws it in the thing, it's like, yeah, you can thank him and say, hey, you're doing a good job. But he's not going to freak out and be like, oh, thank you so much. I mean, he's just used to, that's what he does. He can be like, yeah, thanks, man. But he's not going to flip out about it. That's what he's doing. So I feel the same way about me. That's just what I'm here for, and I'm just doing what I'm here to do. and it's the only thing I can do. So I guess it's good for me to feel gratitude from people, but it's just not a big deal.
Yeah, that way you're being much more calm and still and present. And that ties with the thing that we were talking about, being dispassionate. That is actually being dispassionate, because I think, from my point of view and from the model that I'm using, being super excited about someone saying you all this stuff is actually, connected to the ego and a type of, I'm getting approval. And when you don't need approval, you don't get excited. You don't feel the emotions. All of these are emotions, and emotions are disturbances that come from the ego.
Yeah, so I guess my ego wants me to feel super spiritually advanced, because I'm not feeling because I'm not feeling that much when people give me compliments or when they criticize. Either way, I'm like, like there's a small sting if someone criticizes me, goes, but it's very small. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, and if you want to be precise, we have to think about, why should I be more, emotional? Why do you even want to be more emotional? The only thing I can think of is because you want approval.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's the thing for me. How do I have positive feelings from my work and helping people without coming from an ego place? Like, surely I can tap into that communal, that love, because if someone is giving me love, it's actually the love for God, because I'm only a channel.
Yeah, but you do have positive feelings.
I do have positive feelings.
It's just not those feelings that you expect that you need to have.
Yeah.
It's all about, I think, being nice, fake nice to that person, because you feel like you owe him niceness back and not actually love. Because love is appreciation and acceptance and, let's say, celebration. Okay, just nice terms, but still true. Celebration of the other person, but that does not mean that you have to have emotions about it.
But
love is not an emotion in that sense.
As he dips his finger into my tea. How did you even reach that? That's like all the way over there. You got like Kurt Cobain long, gangly arms. That's funny.
Well, I'm a guitar player.
Well, that doesn't make your arms longer. Unless you knew you were a guitar player before you incarnated and then you had longer arms. But I feel like I should tap into like, just gratitude and actually maybe even just gratitude to the universe for me being in a position to be able to help so many people, because when I focus on it, it's a real honor to be in that position. It's great.
Okay, let's look at it from a different perspective, from an NLP perspective. That gratitude has to feel a certain way or look a certain way in your mind. So is it possible that the sensations that you feel are actually real gratitude, and the other thing is just what people call gratitude, but is a totally different sensation and internal, image?
If someone else's definition of the word is just a different image.
What if you are already in a state of gratitude? Gratitude is just that there's a different state with another set of sensations and internal pictures and attitudes, mental strategies that people tend to call gratitude, but is actually something based on depth and being vaguely nice.
Mm-hmm. And more related to egoic.
Ego,
yeah. Egoic pleasures.
So then you are actually truly grateful in your own way.
Maybe. It's interesting. It's an interesting discussion.
Well, I think if you receive a text like that and think, thank you, not even in words, but in concepts, then you're grateful. You don't have to actually text them back even. Maybe you don't want to invest time in that because you have your own life. That doesn't mean you're grateful. That only means that you're not in debt to them. Yeah, like if you remember, J.C. Eldert spoke about that on the summit. He was talking about how you can reach out to your friends, send them a message, a video message, about how much you appreciate them and how you love to be with them, and you're grateful about all the times that you had fun. But it's really important not to say stuff like, oh, I'll see you sometime, or call me back, because that's a form of a debt, and it actually poisons the whole message, because then you expect something out of them, and true appreciation and love does not expect anything in return. And he played it, he acted it out really well.
Yeah, it's one of the things I find very interesting about people who are just sort of unaware of the matrix and don't think about it. They're aware of, okay, there's physical parasites and whatever, but they don't think about energetic or psychic parasites or any of that stuff. It's like they just ignore that whole realm.
Yeah, because that does not fit their description of reality.
Of course. But I just find it amazing. Really amazing.
Yeah, it's really smart
programming.
Really smart move on the Parasites side. Yeah, because the Matrix is this whole network of egregores. That's what it is. Do you know the whole story?
I don't know. I've heard many stories. Which one are you thinking of?
Okay, my theory is that that there's no dark side. And people, because they fell asleep and unconscious, they didn't know how to use their minds, so they started using them just randomly, thinking about anything. Good thought, positive, integrative thoughts, loving thoughts, and negative thoughts. And the definition of an egregore or pendulum in some sources is a huge thought form which is formed by the thoughts of many. So when many people think in a certain direction, their thoughts build an egregore, which is a huge, huge thought form, which feeds on them and their thoughts, and on the same energy that it has been created in. And so, because all the people all around the world started thinking negative thoughts, they build these egregores, which then become living beings, which are sovereign, which are separate from the people. And so what happens is you create a whole race of egregores, which then form a network, and you could also say a hierarchy, and manifest in physical reality as different structures and organizations, and
through people,
yes.
Right.
So all these lobbyists and secret government conspiracies, all of these people are real, but they're not smart enough to enslave humanity. They're actually puppets of these egregores. And the bad side is that the egregores are really smart and control reality and control people's lives in many smart ways, through food, through television, through media, through even directly through their unconscious. The good thing is that the dark side is actually a network of thoughts that have been created by people. So if we created the dark side ourselves, we have the power to
remove it, but more importantly, to free ourselves. Because you can be free before you remove it. It can still be there, the matrix can still be there, but you can get outside of it by actually raising your frequency and learning to control your mind and getting rid of the ego. Then you're free. It's just that other people are influenced by the egregores. That's pretty good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but if everybody gets enlightened, which in, I don't know, thousands of years will happen, then the egregores will just starve and they'll go away. And all of these organizations are actually targeting people that invest in egregores. So if people are worried about what could happen to them, then they could be affected by, I don't know, the Illuminatis. And if they are not worried and they are on this path of getting rid of everything foreign in them, then and focus on what they truly want in life exclusively, then they can't be affected. That will be against the cosmic law. And I like when Bashar talks about that. And actually, I don't know if you've watched that recording, but in one of the videos, Bashar says, I don't know, there's a person who asks something about conspiracies, maybe chemtrails. Yeah, sure, it was chemtrails. And Bashar said, there are people, say scientists, who think that by putting certain substances in the chemtrails, they're helping the climate. And then he added, there are also other individuals with other motives, but we're not getting into that because we do not want to invest in these agendas energetically. And so I really respect that way of thinking and acting, actually knowing that there's a conspiracy but not focusing on it. In this way, you're not running away from it. I mean, you're not an escapist. You're just choosing what to experience.
But see, there's another side to that. This is a discussion I've had before, but it's an important one. If people live in a village and there's only one river and they all drink from that river, and there's a group of people who, let's pretend they live in a nearby village, at night they come and they poison this particular river, and more people are dying from the river. You not talking about it and not trying to give it energy, even though you know about what's going on, but you don't want to upset everyone, and you think, oh, well, we just won't talk about it, we'll just focus on the good. People are still going to keep dying. And as the people from the next town realize, oh, they're not doing anything and more around, well, we'll just poison more and we can get rid of these people quicker, because for whatever reason they want to kill them.
Yeah, that's an important conversation. That's actually what New Age is all about. According to Mark Passio, the New Age movement is initiated by Satanists who want to train people to not... who want to train people to not pay attention to certain things, and that'd be easier to control them because they're avoiding the topics of control and being enslaved.
No,
and they just accept everything because they're spiritual, quote unquote.
Right.
And
that's a problem.
That's a problem. And what I mean by not investing is not it's all a matter of meaning and intention. If we can definitely talk about this, as we talked about the parasites before, with the intention of freeing ourselves and being healthy and being free, and removing those parasites. Or we can talk about it with the intention of drama and complaining. Oh, these conspiracies, they're so bad. These people are idiots. Why are they doing this to us? That's drama. There's no solutions in that. But we can still talk about it in terms of solutions, and that's the difference. And in that example of the river that the other group poisons is, if I was a habitant of that village, I would focus on the positive, but I would still know that they poison the water. So by focusing on the positive, I will attract a solution would be either technological one, to build a device which cleans the water and then give it to everybody else from the village, or maybe find another source of water, or maybe move to a different village somehow. There's so many creative solutions, and you can reach them only after you've focused in this direction. But it does not mean that I will let people dying.
Right, exactly. So it's finding that middle ground. Like even for these podcasts, it's like I want to talk about certain dark things that are happening, but not because I want to freak people out or get scared. I want to talk about it so people have the knowledge.
With the intention of awareness.
Right, yeah. Creating awareness, but we still stay in a loving place. We're not angry. We recognize that even people that are doing, quote, bad things are just damaged.
Possessed.
Possessed or just seriously damaged. Yeah. But they're also us. They're also us. And coming from that place, okay, how do we then, come up with solutions or figure something out? But it's when you're just spreading fear and getting people afraid so that they lower their frequency. Now we're feeding aggregores. Now we're not. We're not helping at all. So for me, that's the balance I want to find. I am going to talk about some heavy stuff on these podcasts because I want it to be about the truth. That's it. It's either true or it's not true. It's either happening or not. If it's dark but it's happening on our planet and it affects people, then we should be talking about it, but from the right place. And so that's. But it's an interesting discussion. It's finding that line, and and I think as long as we're in these 3D bodies, we do have to. We can stay in our hearts, but we still have to take action. We have to take action.
Yeah,
we can't just all sit around and hope that we'll just stay positive and everything will be okay.
It has to be inspired action.
Yeah,
it cannot be out of fear.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
otherwise, it just leads you to their
right.
Poles.
Then you're playing their game.
Yeah. And there's a really good example in the Transurfing. One of the readers sends a letter to the author saying, "Why are you writing about parasites? There are no parasites in my reality because I'm the creator of my reality, and because I say so, there aren't any." And the author responds how that's actually a delusion because there are certain rules that we have to obey in this reality. And there are parasites, and actually the intention of the parasites is to remain hidden. And by ignoring them, you help them with their hidden smart activities. And so you have to talk about them, and you have to go through a detox and start eating food that they cannot digest. And so they go away naturally. You cannot just say, okay, I don't have any parasites, except if you have the power of a fully enlightened person, you just manifest them out of your body. But that's a different thing.
Yeah. Well, there's always the next level, or that highest level, sure. Yeah, that resonates. Inspired action. Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, I like the whole concept of inspired action.
Expired.
My action expired.
I'd like to do this. That was so 2007. Nobody's doing that anymore. I'm going to create a new website where you'll be able to buy food from the internet and they bring it to your house. Bro, that is really expired, bro. You're right. Maybe in 2005 that was a good idea.
Yeah. So I like the whole concept of how if you struggle and you put so many hours of work, it is often the case that you're actually compensating for a negative vibration, a vibration of discord, of not being aligned. So, for example, if you focus on the lack of money and the lack of time, you may get to have a work where you have to work overtime and get paid little. And it's not that life is a struggle and that it's so hard to survive in this society. It's just that that's what manifests in your reality because of your vibration, your focus. But if you focus on the presence of time and abundance, it is not that you will just have to be lazy all the time and lie on the bed. That'd be kind of boring. You will you can still take action in many ways, and you will have to. But then it will happen naturally because the universe will be working through you. And even there's a really good well, not algorithm, there's a really good way to do work that you're not inspired to do. A method, you could say. When you have to do something, let's say chop wood. Is that how we say it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you have to chop wood for your fireplace and you feel like not doing it and being lazy, but you know you have to do it, you can just start, even though slowly, and kind of pretend that you enjoy it and that you want to do it carefully. And at some point, the life force flows through you, and it is not a struggle anymore. It is you start enjoying that. And there are many practices in the East where the martial art teachers made their disciple their students clean the floor, because they wanted them to realize that you can do something with resistance and with being unhappy about it, by seeing it like just work, or you can do something by giving it a new meaning and enjoying it. And actually, when you enjoy it and when you look at it as a play, as something fun, then the force joins you and you do not struggle and you do not have resistance. You're just full of energy.
That makes sense. When you were telling the story about the chopping wood, I just imagined this guy. And I thought you were going to say something like, imagine that, chopping this wood is going to save the life of someone that you love, or someone that you love needs this wood to stay warm, otherwise you're going to freeze to death. So if you tap into that inspiration, suddenly, you're going to chop wood like a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, but that's sort of motivation and an internal image that you use to motivate yourself. What I'm talking about is slightly different. It is, I'll tell you two stories that depict that. And I take these stories from the transurfing. The first story is the author of the transurfing when he was in the army. They used to have a rule where the last person in the line, the last one who gets to the dormitories, has to clean the whole staircase, which was with white walls and white floor. And you can imagine what it would look like when a whole army walks with their dirty boots on it. And so he really hated that. And what he did is, as a sign of protest, he always came last so that he can always clean the place. And he actually started enjoying it. For him, that was a pleasure to clean the whole thing, because he knew that not only did he know that he irritates the generals, but he received energy because he looked at it as something fun. And at some point, these people were so irritated that and so angry that they moved them to a different dormitory where this rule was no longer valid. And the other story is they had to run like 40 kilometers with full equipment. And the one who led them, he didn't have any equipment. He had just shorts and a t-shirt. And he was yelling at them. And the author was running, but he was literally dying. He couldn't run anymore. And he remembered the samurais and how they do 200 push-ups, then they run, then they do more push-ups, and then run again. Then they are tired, but the sensei inspires them, and then they run again, and they do more push-ups. And their principle is that they imagine that they are already dead, and so they transcend the limitations. And he thought about that, and he said, okay, but I'm not a samurai, and I can't do that. I'm super tired, and I'm gonna die in a minute. But let's pretend. Okay, I'm dead. Let's run. And the moment he decided that, some force joined him, and he started running like wild, and actually outrun the guy with t-shirt and shorts. So the moment that you put your soul in what you're doing, this force joins you and makes it really easy for you. And so that's a good way to do grunt work.
But hang on, does pretending you're dead, do we mean to say that the physical body is dead and therefore only the soul is left and it's what's running?
No, pretending to be dead in this context means that you don't have that self-pity. You don't pity yourself for being tired, you just continue.
Okay, so it's just letting go of this feeling.
Yeah. It's like, I don't care, fuck this shit. Translate it into slang language.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because the physical body does have a limitation, but I think the limitation is much further away than what we, you know what I mean, what we normally experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they proved that with the Marines, and you know the crazy shit some soldiers do in training. It's like, it's not just that they're in better shape; it's that they've just have shifted their beliefs to the point that they're superhuman and they can do it, and where normal people would just.
And then there's the stories about mothers whose children are under a car, and the mother actually lifts the whole car.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So,
but the question is, what exactly happened in that moment? Is it the fact that she always had that strength, and she just never used it because you didn't have to, right? And you just believe that you don't have it, or did actually spirit come into that body and through, something much deeper happened, and actually you were just given that strength by God for that emergency situation based on your asking for it with such pure intention, right? I mean, can you imagine the purity of desire in your heart when your child is about to get crushed by a truck?
I think it's both.
Or is it that or is it a combination of both? You get extra strength and you already have way more power than you realize.
Or maybe
you combine them together.
Or maybe you already have it. You don't have the belief, but your intent is so pure that spirit actually creates a shortcut, and it lets you use your whole energy, whole potential. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting. Those stories are always super interesting. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Ooh, ooh. There's absolutely no reason for that song to come into my head now, but there it is.
And then the stories about people who were about to die in an accident, and they yelled out at God, please save me. And they teleported in a different place.
Oh, yeah? I never heard those.
Yeah, Matrix Energetics is what the book's called, and the author goes by the name okay, I don't remember the name, but he was driving his car, and his wife warned him about black ice, which is some kind of ice that you don't notice on the street, but your car just slides on it, and you can't control it. And so he was driving. I think it was on a bridge that his car started sliding, and it was about to crash. And he yelled out, "God help me!" And then when he opened his eyes, he was out of the car on that same bridge, and his car was wrecked in front of him. So in moments where your intention is so strong, if you direct it to God, you can survive. And then there's the other concept which Bashar shares, is that when you die, you can make the decision to return and just return to a different parallel reality where you haven't died. And so many of these close calls that people experience are actually cases of them dying and then returning back to life without even remembering that happened.
Yeah, I've thought about that before, because if there's infinite parallel realities, you could just shift out of the one where you do die into one where you don't die, and that still happened, and maybe the people that, for whatever reason, need to experience you dying, they stay in that one, but you're not there.
Yeah.
So maybe I've already died multiple times in all the close calls, but I didn't want to die, so I'm still here.
Yeah.
Which is really fascinating. That's
And then there's a third concept, which is in the books of Carlos Castaneda. That's where it's described. And Carlos talks about how after a long preparation of shifting his belief systems, he had to jump from a high rock. And the moment he was about to hit the ground, he found himself in his bed. So he actually glued together two different realities just before he hit the ground.
So he had an accident?
He jumped and he teleported to his bed before hitting the ground.
Did he jump with the intention of hitting some water and there was a rock, or he jumped with the intention of killing himself?
He jumped with the intention of actually teleporting, of being safe, of surviving the whole thing.
But if he was wrong, was it such a far jump where he would have died? Or he would have just maybe got hurt a little bit?
Oh, definitely death.
Is there any evidence this happened?
No. It's just a story.
Mm-hmm. How far advanced is this guy, supposedly? I haven't read any of his books or anything.
It's pretty advanced, but he's already dead, so...
All right. Well, he wasn't that advanced then. Dick.
Well, the thing is, about
he could
that
still
is...
be alive, just not in this current timeline we're in. He might have just shifted into another one where he's still alive.
Yeah, but I mean, he died from cancer, not from the jump.
Right. But maybe he didn't die from cancer in all reality. It's just this one that we're in.
Yeah.
Or maybe a few million that we're in.
True.
One of.
It's true.
Because I've thought about this before. And this is another interesting sort of line of thought. And I was so for this is interesting. The whole interesting discussion. So I recently went on Facebook and I started chatting with an old a girl I was friends with years ago, 10 years ago, and we were quite close back then. And something always sort of I knew something was wrong in the relationship or kind of with her, but I couldn't figure it out. And now that I'm a lot more kind of woke, I can see that like most people, she's very much just in the mind, and she really believes the reality as it is normal, the Matrix, and she's not really asking questions about that. And she had some really bad things happen to her, and she was telling me about them on our Facebook chat. And she and I was trying to ask her questions like, well, is there any reason this could have happened to you? Is there any way you brought this into your life and there's some kind of lesson or teaching or something for you? And she's like, no. She thought it was just random. She's like, no, shit just happens, and that's all there is to it. And that's true for her because that's her belief.
Yeah.
But as soon as her belief, if her belief were to change, she would potentially see some amazing lessons and have a lot of growth and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, my point is that if someone truly is living unconsciously, they're really eat whatever you want to and fuck everyone else, who cares what people think? I'll do whatever I want to, and I'll drive dangerously, and I'll, you know what I mean? Just totally just doing what they want and without any consciousness or love for others, nothing. Let's pretend that's happening. But that person is really genuinely enjoying their life. They're just not, they're just not awake, but they're enjoying their life. They have no desire to die. They're having a great time, just being a bit of a dick. And there's probably millions of people that fall into this category, right? Millions, if not, who knows, maybe billions. And then that person attracts a car accident because they need to wake up, right?
Yeah.
But they have no desire to die.
Yeah.
It would be wrong, it would just be wrong, universally speaking, for them to be killed and have their life to end, even though they don't want to die. Yes, they have a lesson to be learned. The ideal situation is they break their leg, they spend time in hospital, and of course they realize that, how stupid they were, and they realize that blah, 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 and then they change their life, and they have a wonderful life after that, and they help people. That would be the ideal. That's what the universe would want to happen. Them just dying doesn't really serve much for them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe for some others, somewhat, but not really. So would that person then, again, if they really didn't have the desire to die, would they just appear to die to everyone else, maybe, in some realities, but actually the consciousness would just shift to another timeline where they were just injured, learned the lesson, and then continued their life? Do people ever die when they actually really don't want to? And then, of course, some people say, on the soul level, there's a contract for you to be killed. But then even if your soul made that contract, but you, the part of the soul that's in the physical body, actually doesn't want to die in this part of life, and you are having a great time. You see what I mean? So is it possible that no one really leaves early?
Well, the soul is you. So the soul is your clear consciousness, and then there's the ego. So if the ego doesn't want to die, but the soul wants, then you will die. If the soul doesn't want to die, then you will stay alive. And then there's tons of confirmations about that. For example, I listened to a story of a man who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and he said, me and all the people who have survived always say, the moment I let off the fence and I fly down, I regretted this decision and I really strongly desired to be alive. And they survived the whole drop in the water. And then the other thing is, it is not necessary that they die for the other people and in their reality that they stay alive. I mean, there's no separation, because if I understood you correctly, you mean that if they die but they choose to focus on a different reality, they get to live, but they die for all of the rest of the people.
Yeah.
But that's not necessary, because they can just come back to life, and they come back to life for all people. It's just that I imagine it a little bit like blockchain. In the blockchain technology, the consensus consists of what all of the individual nodes have on their computers. So if Bitcoin is now worth 7K, that means that, oh no, sorry, that's not a good example. If I send you some Bitcoin, everyone should agree that I send you some Bitcoin. And that's how blockchain works, because it's decentralized. And everybody gets to have a ledger. Everybody who's part of the network, of course. And I think reality works in a similar way. If I die and everybody experiences my death, but I choose to come back, then on a soul level, on a spiritual level, everybody agrees with me coming back to life, and they just update their ledgers. They update their version of reality, and we all shift to that parallel life track where I am alive, because it's not trouble for them. They don't mind it. I mean, on some level, everybody shifts to that reality where I am alive. The same way that all of the ledgers get changed on the nodes, and everybody knows that I have sent you some Bitcoin. So it's like a common agreement, a mass agreement.
But what if there's a situation where somebody commits an action, like they think they want to die, they commit an action where on the physical level, with the belief structures that most people have, it would be impossible to survive, but actually on the soul level they want to survive.
Yeah.
Now we have a problem. For example, You put a gun in your mouth and you pull the trigger and it blows your entire brain out of your head. There's no changing that. You're done.
Yes, but you can shift to a different track where you shot yourself slightly to an angle and you couldn't kill yourself. Or there's a Bulgarian poet who actually shot himself in the head like this. So like this. How do I explain that?
The temple.
Yeah.
Into the side. Bullet into the head, into the temple.
And he lived. And then but he really wanted to kill himself. Then he drank some poison and shot himself again so that he can be sure that he'll die. But yeah, it's possible to survive.
Right. But I guess,
And then the doctors say, oh, that's a miracle.
But I guess, yeah, if you did do it in an angle where your whole brain gets blown out, even if there's people standing there watching you do it, and then as you die, you realize, actually, no, I don't want this, then they would also shift into a reality where suddenly the bullet went to the wrong angle and all you did is destroy your jaw.
Exactly, you would have a Mandela effect.
Yeah, you'd have exactly. That would be a Mandela effect, yeah. And then maybe those people, if they're quite tuned in, might be like, oh, that's weird. I know he lived, but I remember him blowing his fucking brain out and dying. But he's alive and he's in the hospital, so I guess that's what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's very interesting.
But I do not suggest people try this and jump off buildings because the intention should be... there's the intention of jumping. If you jump with the intention to prove something, then you probably die. This whole thing with coming back to life, that happens on a soul level after you have died, not before. I mean, all of these people who came back to life, they don't think, I will now jump and then I'll come back to life. All of those decisions come
That's right, they happen
on the spiritual level.
Yeah.
What's the time?
The time is now.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because the times I almost died, for example, the time I was in the ocean and I was being sucked out with undercurrents, and I only survived because the lifeguards came to get me. That's the only reason. Otherwise, it was over already. But I didn't drown and then go to the other side and then have a conversation with God. And God's like, no, you're not supposed to die. Just go back and then you'll be okay. It wasn't my time. So the lifeguards knew they were given the information. Source was like, there's a guy over there, and they went and did it. So because it wasn't my time, I never got into the position where so it wasn't necessary for me to have a death experience and then come back. It just...
No, but it's not necessary that you remember it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's the thing. Maybe it did happen. Maybe I only remember that version.
Yeah,
being saved. Maybe I did.
That's what happens in most cases. But again, all of that is discussions about the mechanics, not of the experience. So the mechanics can be that you died, that you decided to come back, that you came back, and then you forgot all about it, like amnesia, and then you remembered only the reality where the lifeguard saved you. But that's a mechanical explanation, like an explanation of the physics behind it. But the explanation of the experience would be that God actually helped you through the lifeguards.
Mm-hmm.
It's just two different viewpoints.
Well, either way, I'm grateful to still be here doing my thing.
Yeah.
As I'm becoming more and more conscious and I keep meeting more people who are very aware that you don't have to get old and your body doesn't have to just get weaker and poopier and then you check out. That's a belief I want to keep working on myself so that I don't my body doesn't age because I know that it's not necessary. It's just it's a belief and it's programmed into the DNA, but I know that DNA can be reprogrammed and the belief can be changed.
Yeah, and in the case of those teachers, they have when they get rid of the ego, the belief goes away together with the ego, and they just rely on source energy and they stay alive for however time they need. Yeah. And what they say is the body ages because of the patterns that we have. And that's, by the way, that's the same thing in rebirthing breath work. If you remember, I connected with Leonard Orr, who's the creator of rebirthing breath work, and he was working with some yogis in India. And according to him, the patterns that you have in your field are the cause of death. And so when you do the rebirthing breath work and you break those patterns, you can stay alive as long as you want. Yeah, I'm not entirely a fan of his, but that's still true. By the way, a curious random thought. I know how Bashar says that oftentimes if a person has a dream about aliens, he actually contacts aliens, especially if there's fear, because their civilization has a much higher vibration, and when we meet them, they raise our vibration, and so all of the shit comes up, and we feel fear. And there are many people who have participated in that hybridization program, where they create a hybrid civilization from their DNA and from ours. And I remember that once I was still at school, I had a dream where I was abducted by aliens. I do not remember the abduction itself, but I remember that it was day in my dream. And then suddenly I was at the same place, but it was night already, and I had different clothes on. And I thought that I might have been abducted. That was the knowingness that I felt. I think my dad came to take me home, but in the same moment I turned back. In the distance, on the other side of the street, I saw two aliens. One was an adult and the other one was a child. And I felt such intense fear that I woke up, and I didn't want to move. I didn't want to show my hand out of the blanket, and I was paralyzed by fear for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I thought that was a dream, but later on, while listening to Bashar, I assumed that might actually have been a contact. And that alien child, maybe my child. But it's just an assumption.
I had another friend tell me a similar story. He told me this years ago. Basically, he was just... he basically described a story where he lost, I think it was 5 or 6 hours, maybe it was 8 hours of time just gone. He left his house at noon, and then he is coming home after just going to the corner store or something, and it's 7 p.m. and he goes, I just left. It should have been 30 minutes. What happened to the other 7 hours? There's no explanation for it. He wasn't drunk. He was totally sober, and time just disappeared. And he was like, what the fuck happened? I'm missing time. And he was totally aware that he was missing time. So that was interesting. And he's had some other weird shit happen. So again, that might be potentially another thing that happened. But I think aliens with that level of tech, they can warp time and stuff. So you could have that experience, and then they could put you back 1 second after you disappeared, so you wouldn't even notice. Yeah. So maybe that was something else. Who knows? Could be many things, I'm sure.
Or they can take you in your dream. Maybe they don't need your physical body.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. The agreement to help with the program, hybridization, is done on the spiritual, so the soul level, right? So maybe you can have the dream of your soul giving them your semen energetically, and maybe they can. I think they need you have to cooperate.
Yeah.
But the semen could be taken from your body, your human body, as long as your soul agrees with it. So you have the dream of the agreement and thing happening, and just boom, they literally take some of your seed out of you, and there's no need for you to be physically taken somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will ask them in 10 years or so.
I mean, you could ask them tonight if you have a
if
good enough lucid
you're good
dream.
enough. Yeah, one of the guys whose book I have read talks about meeting aliens. He put out the intention and he saw their ship, and then one night during sleep paralysis he got to talk to an alien. But his body was not ready, and he was always paralyzed in fear. Even though he knows they're loving, they tell him we are loving. You don't need to fear us, but we know that you do, because you still have negative beliefs that come up in our presence. And then he was able to see their ship when they were leaving.
That's cool. That is cool. I know of somebody as well who's had contact. There's some people like can see the ships, and other people can feel their presence, and other people can hear the ships. It's others, like certain people have certain different abilities. And then I do know of a group that they went out at night, and they were told like come here, and then the aliens came and they saw the ship, and the aliens came out of the fucking ship and everything, but that it was interrupted, and random people were showing up, so the aliens had to leave quickly. But they did get to see them, and even had photos of the ship and stuff, which have been shown. So I've seen pictures of the ship, and they're real. They were just on a guy's phone. Like he didn't have the technical ability to fake anything like that. He was just a normal fucking dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and when I was in Ecuador on a small dose of San Pedro, I had an experience. I talked about this in one of the podcasts, so I think you might have heard it. But anyway, I saw a red light that was like on my friend's land, which couldn't have been. There's nothing there. Like there's nothing that could create a red light. Nothing. Like there isn't. But me and Isabel both saw the light, and then it disappeared. And then we went over there, and there's nothing there. There's no cars. There's nothing. It's just grass. So we were like, okay. And then later I was channeling, and I asked like what it was, and the answer was, well, it was something unexplained. Just to see your reaction, because you've been putting out intentions to meet aliens. So therefore, you'll keep having these experiences, and as long as you maintain love in your heart and not fear, you'll keep having more experiences until eventually contact, but it depends on your level of how ready you are.
Yeah.
So that was just like a taster, just to see if you'd like panic or not. And
when you channel, what does it feel like inside your mind? Does it feel like your imagination?
No, I just kind of know. Like, so I just I ask a question, and then I just feel like. Just I want to start typing, and I just use my laptop, so I just start typing. But I don't more and more I'm realizing I don't need the laptop. A laptop is just again.
But I mean, do your fingers type by themselves, or do you type it out? The thing that you're feeling.
Right. It starts that I have a sentence or that I'm supposed to start, and then once I start getting in flow, my mind checks out pretty much. Or it's like a combination of like I know what they're saying, so I'm typing it, and then at some point it's just a whole. Like I'm typing really fast, like, and it just is. Yeah.
I mean, if you start typing now, it'd be different. I mean, just if you start typing now, just some random stuff, the feeling will be different. So like sending a text message to someone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm just typing normally, I'm just my own normal human stuff.
Yeah.
But when I ask my friends and I tune in, I can feel also a connection. Like I can feel their presence. I don't know how I would describe it. It's like it's like a calmness and sort of like a love feeling. And sometimes if I really have high level love thoughts, or I have a realization and I share it with them, or I direct it towards them, sometimes I'll have a feeling of like energy going into my body. Like many times I've spoken to them and gotten energy directly where I feel it going down my body, down my spine, and it's a really pleasant feeling. And it's like a gentle love type of feeling, but it's not a feeling that you normally just have sitting around. Like it's just, So yeah. At some point I should share some of the things I've channeled with the listeners, because some of it's pretty profound, and I just keep it to myself and I tell my friends, but I don't actually, let's see, if people listen to this and they're like, dude, share stuff from your alien friends, then I will. Let's see how people react.
So they're not inorganic, they're aliens.
Yeah, they're from a star system that's, well, as Bashar confirmed, they're very high level consciousness and serious. And yeah, I don't know. I've never asked them like, "Hey, you guys?" Maybe I did. I'm not even sure. But if they're like physical or if they're just energy or what, I presume them to be highly advanced physical beings, or probably maybe even both. Maybe they can shift between physical and energy. But I've never even worried about that. I'm just happy to have the communication and to get the love from them. And
yeah.
I'm just happy that they're part of my life. So, but talking about them brings them in the room. Like I can feel them now here, and then they start to, talk to me. And so now already I'm more in a position to start talking to them and asking them for downloads, because I'm there. They just seem to show up when I'm like talking
Imagine
about them.
how cool that would be from their perspective. Oh, see, Sasha's talking about us. Let's pay him a visit.
I can play you a recording of me and my friend who's like psychic, like super psychic. And the last time, I don't remember if we recorded this. I think I might have. But the last time I said, "Hey, let's talk to my friends," and she started tuning in. She said that they're really excited. They're like, "Oh, this is happening. Awesome. Sasha wants to talk to us." And they were all like gathering around together for the experience excitedly, And that was really cool, because they're just as excited to talk to me as I am talking to them, which means, obviously, even though I'm currently in a human form that's more limited than potentially other forms I've been in, they're still happy to talk to me. So it implies that there's a great love there and a deep relationship.
Yeah, I had
which
this.
Is cool.
I had this idea previously that all of these spiritual beings are higher than us, and wouldn't they be bored of us? But when you think about it, we are actually, from a certain perspective, we are actually far more advanced than them, because we put ourselves in limitation. We have the courage to put ourselves in limitation. So we are these infinite, powerful beings that actually limit themselves and totally forget who they are. And when they talk to us, they actually know who we are, and they see our pure self. Right. They don't see us as limited beings.
Right. Yeah,
it's our own perception of ourselves, but that's not what's true.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's just so cool, like chatting to them and just being protected. It's really cool. I was going to say it's very lucky to be who I am, but I know it's true. But on another level, I know I worked very hard to become what I am, and I don't even mean just on the human level. I mean on the spiritual level. I've done a lot of work to become the being that I am, and therefore it's not like a coincidence that I have all these beings that are hanging around and talking to me. And it's more than I've been learning recently. There's more than just those guys. There's all sorts. It's because I've done a lot of work. Yeah, I'm just asking them if there's anything that they want to say. They're saying to say that everyone, all beings on the planet, all have these connections, and they're all loved, and they just need to open themselves up, and they can all receive guidance and wisdom and love from many different levels and sources. And there's almost no beings on the planet that have no outside connections and no ties and no love. That we're all being flooded with love from all over galaxy, but it's not even galaxy. It's not the right word, from existence, because it's not just the galaxy in this reality. We're all being sent so much love and adoration and support. And if we just open ourselves up to feel that, then it will help us all wake up much faster. And just to be open to receiving outside help energetically.
Do you open yourself up through getting rid of the bullshit, or do you do that consciously, like a switch?
You asking me or for me to ask them?
Well, both.
Our thoughts will attach onto the thoughts of those being sending them, and they will allow us to receive.
Can you ask, how can I be sure that it is their thoughts and not my imagination? Meaning not egoic thoughts and hopeful, wishful thinking.
They're one and the same. All loving thoughts come from the same source. So as long as you're feeling them, there's no difference between, because even the outside source's thoughts are still coming from your own heart. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think it's
but also you can feel, they're saying you can feel it in a different way, because if you just think thoughts, the feeling or the action is more happening in the brain and the mind. When you're feeling and you're feeling love and energy coming from the outside, it's more a warmness in the body and in the heart, and less a process in the mind. And so, so it's more in the body and in the heart energy than a thought process or a using of the mind.
I think that's curious, because my question,
and also there's a vibration that can be felt in the body, although it's subtle, when something comes from the sort of outside of the physical body that you consider to be you, even though it's all you. There's you can feel the energy in the body. If you open yourself up to it and you stop blocking it, you can feel happiness and love in the body and in the spine. And actually, now that they say that, I've mentioned it earlier, I do feel it sometimes. But they're saying everyone can feel it, but we're just not. We sabotage and block that feeling because we think we're not supposed to feel that. We're only supposed to feel happy or joyful when we do something with the body, eat something or fuck or do something. But actually, just putting our love and thoughts out to all the beings out there that love us, that isn't enough to feel good in the body and to get those pleasure sensations. And we're just not doing it.
Okay, then another question is...
See, now I feel... talking about it, I feel it going up my spine, up into my ears. And there's just a happy, subtle niceness. It's like someone's doing the universe is doing some Reiki on me now.
And my other question that came to mind is... when is it appropriate to ask questions? Meaning, is it a sign of not being able to cope by yourself? I mean, is it? Do you get what I mean?
You're never by yourself, and you're always asking questions, even if your mind is still.
What was the last part?
Even if your mind is still, even if you're not thinking, you're always asking questions on some soul level, and you're always getting answers back. The only thing that changes is how much are you consciously listening to the answer they're saying.
And another nuance is, do I need to be imagining something? Because every time I try to imagine something, I feel discomfort and efforting and struggling because I'm not sure that that's the right thing and it takes energy from me. Or do I only need to just direct my thoughts in that direction, know that I'm contacting them?
They're saying it's different for everybody. Everyone has their own methods or tools, or that makes it easier for them. But there's no right answer. Like for me, I just think about them, as my friends from there, And immediately I feel the connection, but other people can visualize things, so everyone has their own thing. And once you discover whatever your thing is, just use it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But there's no definitive answer for that. Just do what works. Oh, they're coming in strong. They're right here now with me. They're like, yeah, come on, ask us more questions. So,
well, I can always
go for it.
Okay, next question. Is it wiser to turn to source or to turn to them, or it doesn't matter? It's all the same.
Even they're a filter. For source is always the ultimate truth, and even though they're very close to source, they still have their own filter, because they still have their own experiences, even though they're, quote, enlightened beings. So be careful. Yeah, be careful where you get your information. Always go to source first. Source is always the cleanest and purest truth, because it is truth. But there are beings that are so close to source that it's virtually the same truth that you're going to get. So it's still not the ultimate truth.
In a sense, it's like looking for the answers inside, but also maybe for the fun of it or for other reason, talking to an enlightened friend.
Sure. Well, the joy is in seeing these other perspectives and enjoying them. I know in my heart what is the truth, and they're saying all people know in their hearts what the truth is. So when I hear it from Bashar, I recognize it as truth, but it's Bashar flavor of truth, and it's interesting for me, even though I have the truth inside of me, to hear his version in this current experience, because it's just and it's fun to listen to Abraham Hicks tell their version of the truth, which is close to the ultimate truth, which is in me. But it's fun to hear the way it's fun to be in their presence and see their sense of humor and their vision and how they communicate themselves. That's fun. And on the highest level of my soul, it's really fun, because my soul is watching me in this form listen to the truth in another version and process it using my human filter. So my soul is laughing at me having this experience listening to Bashar or anyone else.
So the way I imagine it now is, as we are all in one hall, and there's like let's say a festival where there's one truth. And the mission or the quest or the assignment is, okay, now everybody create their own piece of art based on this truth, or act it out, or sing it, or paint a picture. It will be the same truth, but everybody will present it in their own unique way.
They're saying that's the fun of creation. That's the fun of creation. Is everyone can make their own version of what they believe to be as true, and everyone can contribute, and everyone can tap into everyone else's version, and then create their own based on that. And that's the fun. That's the fun of what we're doing here. It's like art. We're all artists in our own way, But we're all artists having access to the ultimate truth inside of us, and then we can always tap back to that in order to, if we get too lost in other people's truth and in the game, we can always go back to ourselves and get the pure source if we need it, or if we get confused or lost, it's always there.
Okay, next question.
They're having fun. They want everyone to know that they're having fun talking to us and hanging out. We're also having fun, guys.
Interdimensional high five.
Can you personally feel an energy like just here?
I'm still full of baggage that does not allow me to.
I'm full of baggage too, but when I talk to them, I always feel them. But I guess that's my personal connection. So.
I can only feel God while I'm meditating. I feel like it's not even so much a knowingness. It's a sensation. I am in a different state of consciousness, meaning that the same way that when you smoke weed or take any psychedelic, your consciousness feels different, as if you're perceiving differently. that different sensation is because you are in an altered state of consciousness. So when I meditate and I connect to the divine, I am in an altered state of consciousness, and I also feel sensations like pressure, warmth, needles.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel yet. I don't feel the actual. How do I say it? The presence, the presence that flows through me as I am feeling you. It's not as tangible.
They're saying A, that you are, and B, soon you will know that you are. You're just filtering. You're filtering for the parts of the experience that you're comfortable with now, but very soon you will have a greater experience of God.
Okay, 2 questions. Am I filtering that? Do I have control over this filtering, or does it happen unconsciously or subconsciously? And B, will this happen naturally because of my meditation practices, or will that require another process?
So first answer was, yeah, you are. It's all. Everything is. It's not conscious. No, it's not conscious. It's just everyone is getting exactly what they're ready for now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, just like with the aliens, right? Like if you're not ready, you're not going to have the experience because you're going to freak out.
Yeah.
So it's just your belief of what you can experience now, and when you, on a deeper level, or believe you can experience a greater amount of God, then you're gonna instantly have that. What was the part 2?
It was, will that require an additional process, or is it only necessary to continue the meditation practice?
Your processes are always going to be changing based on where you're at and the information that you discover or are given.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is just a natural evolution, which will continue as it has been continuing.
Yeah,
there's nothing you need to specifically change now to get something. You're already always changing everything as necessary. So
makes sense. Yeah, I'm always changing. That's at such a high speed.
Yeah.
Next week, probably think about so many different things. But I had another question. These beliefs that hold me back, that filter, is there a way to accelerate the getting rid of these beliefs?
So even before you opened your mouth, I already had the answer to the question. That's why I was like, it doesn't matter what you say, I already have it. They're a necessary part of your experience. And so, yeah, that's really the answer. They are a necessary part of your experience.
But for example, if I focus on the thought and the concept and build the energy up with the concept of I am able to connect better to God, wouldn't that accelerate the process because I'm focusing on that?
Yes, to some degree, but on a deeper level, if you're not truly ready, and there are some blocks or something else that needs to be dealt with first, it's not going to move forward faster than your spirit knows you're ready to move it forward.
Is that connected to getting rid of the patterns and the egoic mind?
It's connected to everything. It's all one. It's all part of one journey.
But in that sense, does it mean that it's predestined, or that it's just very likely? That is high momentum.
Well, you chose this journey, so it's predestined by you for you to have this journey of awakening, which you're happening. You chose to have it. So.
But what does free will? How does free will fit into that? Is
Who's free will? Because the free will of the source energy, of which you are part, that decided to manifest, is being 100%, because you're going through exactly what you planned for yourself. And then the free will of you as the individual is not as clean, because you have the blocks and all the shit, the human shit. So the free will of you here is not as powerful as the ultimate free will, which is being manifested without you even doing anything here, because it's your ultimate self.
The physical free will the two choices are to continue on the path and to not continue on the path. That's the. Are those the only two choices?
No, you can change the. Well, actually, that's not even a choice. Once you've made this ultimate decision to go on down the path, even if you tried not to go down the path, you would still go down the path.
Which is true. I can never think about. I cannot imagine not continuing. That's not an option.
Everyone will be forced down the path that they themselves have chosen for themselves.
Yeah.
And because they've chosen it for themselves, they're not being forced.
Yeah. So maybe in that sense, the free will is not resisting, and resisting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do you want to resist what you've already chosen for yourself, or do you want to just go along with it? Which is
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't actually think about like which will is stronger. I don't know, but that's interesting that I get that now. We do have choices, but they still lead us down the path that we've chosen for ourselves. Just which way is more exciting for you might change based on lots of stuff, but then that's fine. But ultimately, you're still going to the same place because you chose that. So where else would you go? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Bashar's concept about how you choose I think a hallway was the word. And he says, you will walk down that path, but you can walk in different ways. You can skip, you can jump, sure. You can walk, you can just look at the picture, the scenery.
They're saying even Bashar doesn't have all the answers.
True.
But they do agree with most of what he says. Okay, I'll tell my friends, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming in. Great to feel your presence. And guys, please do stay with me all night. I feel nice when you guys are in my field.
I'm also appreciative of this party.
Dian, they're saying you also have some pretty high-level friends, and you also can open up communications with them if you want to and start channeling directly. Anytime you desire to do so, whenever you feel ready.
What would be the process?
It's up to you to find your own process. Just know that you can do it quite easily as soon as you decide, and that that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And your group, or one of them that's close to you, is saying that they're always there for you when you are ready to open up those communications. But they're not going to force it. They're just telling you they're already there for you now, whenever you want to talk or channel or anything.
Tonight.
And P.S., everyone listening to this also has groups also waiting for them to open up dialogue, and everyone has their own friends out there somewhere. Yeah, I've always done the channeling in front typing, but a few times I've like just kind of felt things and gotten answers, but I've never had a discussion or a verbal, just been feeling and speaking it, only in my head sometimes, but because it's in my head, it's harder for me to know, like, is this really happening? But when I'm talking and it's just flowing, it's more real. So now I'm getting more confident in just being able to feel and connect and then just speak it rather than, I have to type it out.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I don't think I need to type it anymore. I can just feel it and be it. Because there was a point there where I knew the answers to what you were saying before you actually opened your mouth. So there's no way, because I'm not that. I mean, I am psychic, but not on that level.
Yeah.
So I was literally being told, like, already knew this is what you're going to say next. And then I'd hear your question and go, you don't, as soon as you open your mouth, I'm like,
I sensed that, by the way. The first time that you spoke and you said that everybody has that connection and can tune into that, I was actually thinking that question, but I didn't say it at all. I just let you speak. And then you said that and I was like, okay, they know I'm thinking that.
Yeah. Once I just start flowing, then I just become a channel and I'm speaking and that's it. And I don't have to do any weird shit like Bashar, like breathing or just like I just connect and I feel I'm connected. And I feel
Esther doesn't do that as well.
She does something. I've seen her kind of, but she checks out. Like she's not really.
Yeah, she's not
there. I'm Sasha. I just know that I'm just have this extra level of knowing and wisdom coming in that I want to share. But I'm still me. I just have access to like knowledge that I.
That's it. You made it to the end. That was the end. Bit abrupt, but that was it. There's nothing else. Sorry. That's it. Thanks for making it here. I know you love it. I love you for loving it. Thanks for listening. Do be on our mailing list over at woke.as because there's some big announcements coming up, and we're just emailing those to everybody on the email list. So, I love you. See you in the next episode. And hey, if you're on iTunes, would it kill you? Would it kill you to leave a comment on iTunes? Would it? Huh? Would it? I don't think it would. So, do it. Peace.